We will call the meeting to order and pursuant to the Illinois Attorney General's guidance to public bodies on the Open Meetings Act during the COVID-19 pandemic dated July 2nd, 2020, county board members may participate without being physically present in compliance with the established provisions. Get a motion to go on.
So moved.
Second here. Participate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carries. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you.
A text from Sam that he's in traffic and maybe a couple minutes late.
Yeah, traffic is back.
Yes, it is. On the north side. West coming in from the east, it was fine. Hey, we have anybody, or let's do the roll call first, Christy.
Sure. Desart?
Here.
Here.
Garcia? Here. Krajewski?
Here.
Rutledge?
Here.
Tornatori?
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. Move on to public comment. Anybody signed up for public comment,
No
Christy?
one signed in.
Did you want to speak at all, Stephanie? You want to?
I've got nothing this time. I'm just here to learn.
Well, give us a little recap, how about, of the giving DuPage.
So we got $3,700 from the we got $3,700 from the Share the Care pool, which ultimately covered our fees for participating, and then $700. We won 4 total prizes that totaled $1,300. So at the end of the day, we raised $53,000, and then ultimately got that match donation of $50,000. So we cleared well over $100,000 from that 5-day event. So again, just want to thank all of you for your support. I've been at the shelter a couple of times, and the staff there is already excited and talking about strategy for next year. So we're about to hit the ground running and get things in the works for 2022. So thank you all again.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie.
Sam.
Welcome, Sam. We just finished our public comment. Move on to chairman's remarks. Just one thing I have is you're well aware that Dakota and Springfield, they passed House Bill 1711, the banning of the puppy mills, and both the House and Senate still waiting for the governor's signature. I just wanted to special thanks here for all the hard work that Barb Handick and Christy Lataros did. I remember it was, I think it was 4 years ago when Chicago had passed the ordinance banning it in Chicago, and they had withstood 2 challenges in the 7th Circuit Court. So the lobbyists were hired by the puppy mills, and they went to Springfield and they went to ban or put in some kind of watered down version and basically preempt all the home rule, overturn what Chicago did. And so we got a call from, was it Carrie Myers, who I think you were friends with, and Carrie Myers was the starter of the Puppy Mill Project in Chicago that spearheaded passing that legislation. And so her and Mark Ayers came out to my office, Christy and Dr. Hannick there. They explained everything. Of course, I didn't understand anything, but from there, DuPage got on board to help Cook County fight in Springfield, and we passed that as part of our legislative agenda. Christy put together at the time, maybe it was 200 pages, and over the years it grew to 400 pages of information that she could give out, or we could give out to legislators. And then from there, we started getting DuPage communities behind it. So I know Christy started first with West Chicago, communicating with Mayor Pineda and all the council members there with their big packet. They passed it, and then Dr. Hannick and I went on the road tour, speaking in, when we do Lombard, Bloomingdale, Naperville a couple of times, Downers Road several times, Lyle, we were in Lyle, and all the communities would, or all these rescue groups would always email me when there's another village talking about it, and they would ask if Dr. Hannick could come speak. So they were very impressed with all your speaking abilities. I got a lot of requests for that. Willowbrook, they just flew that one through, but Christy provided Willowbrook with all of their council members. And then the legislators down in Springfield, that first initial 4 years ago when we stopped that bill, she did a very good job, especially on the House side, with getting all the members. The puppy mills had their head lobbyist, Kurt Fiedler, I guess. He was the one going around, but they had several lobbyists. And I also want to thank Chip Humes for all the work he did. Both 4 years ago when we stopped that first bill, and then from there, we started introducing our own bills, first for just DuPage and Will County, and then through the Humane Society, it was statewide. But there was many communities in DuPage County that actually passed their own using home rule, and also support groups. We had townships, Village of Westmont, who wasn't home rule, passed the support. But Mark Ayers called me last week just thanking not only DuPage County for the support, because our board over the last 4 years was unanimous every time in making it a top priority but also Chip Humes and the work he did. He goes, Chip knew so many legislators down there that Mark didn't know, that he was able to go and talk to them. But it was a lot of work. And then, of course, everybody kept jumping on board. I know Dawn did a very good job. We were concerned about the ag committee. We only had 7. We needed 8 votes to get out, and we couldn't get commitments. People said, oh, probably, but not a firm yes. And she ultimately got one of the senators to confirm that she was going to vote for it. So we knew we had 8 votes. Out of ag, we just needed to get the bill called, which it eventually did. And then on the Senate side, both, Senator Holmes, who's really spearheads a lot of the animal initiatives we have, and then one of our former members, John Kern, jumped on as co-sponsors of that bill, and they were on both sides of the aisle, so they were able to get some of their colleagues together. So it was a big team effort. But I just want to, again, thank Christy and Barb, because they were there the first meeting when they brought Kerry Myers in, and you guys got DuPage County behind it, and 4 years later, we got that legislation passed. So thank you for the work you guys did.
Thank you. Yeah, you led leads.
Moving on, we'll go to approval of our minutes from May 18th.
So moved. Second.
Any questions, comments, revisions, additions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Minutes are approved. Administrative update. Barb, go first. Laura.
There you go, sure. So this calendar year, we've taken in just over 800 animals. Something that's really remarkable that I want to point out is that our current shelter population, we have 87 animals in our building, but we have 71 in foster right now, which is phenomenal. So one of the really important things we learned from the pandemic is that animals are healthier and happier when they're not in a kenneling environment. And so we're doing our best to try to move animals into foster homes so that we can reserve that kennel space for those animals that truly have no other options and really need to stay in the shelter. With that being said, since the CDC has updated their health guidance, we are open to the public, allowing them in the building. So we've always been operational throughout this whole pandemic, but we have been doing curbside service. Our doors are still locked just to kind of help manage the flow of people into the building since it's a pretty tight lobby. But we're inviting people in to complete their business. We are not opening our kennels though for people just to kind of walk through. For a couple reasons. It's always been kind of a safety issue in the past and something that's bothered, I think, many of us at the shelter because we don't have the capacity to escort every single member of the public that wanted to go back there. We'd find people getting into cages with dogs. We find them putting fingers in kennels. And frankly, it's also very stressful on the animals to kind of just have that commotion. But most of our adoptable animals are in foster, and our fosters are really enjoying being part of that adoption process too. They're getting to know these animals in a more natural environment that they're going to be, transitioning into and can share what they're observing, what they're learning about these pets while in their care. So right now we are continuing to serve the public fully, but just not opening up kennels for people to walk through.
Yeah, those 87, how many are rabbits?
Actually, our rabbit population is finally a little bit more under control. We had a lot of rats for a while there. Somebody had bought 2
chinchillas. We've got it all right now.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We had somebody buy 2 rats from Petland, and they thought they were both boys, I think. And 17 more rats later, they realized they had a boy and a girl. So those came to us. So. With kind of this reopening, we have started inviting even more volunteers back, but we don't anticipate probably opening up new volunteer opportunities still. We've got a really good enthusiastic response from volunteers wanting to come back and fill those open positions. And then we're also in the process, now that our population has been increasing and our needs have been changing, filling some more part-time and full-time positions. And one of the things I want to encourage you guys to do, we hired a new education and community outreach coordinator in December of last year, Laura Winnie, and she has just done a phenomenal job revitalizing our programs. She's doing some in-person things. We did something for the mayor of West Chicago, I think. His wife works for the Park District, brought some rabbits out there. She's been doing a lot of online education. Something that we've gotten a great response from is she does this thing called 2-Minute Tuesday, where she online just does a really quick 2-minute educational piece that helps prep people for, hey, if you want to learn more, register for our next program on whatever it is she was talking about. So I would encourage you guys to take a look at that. She's doing a phenomenal job. And really, we're doing a lot of focusing on our community services for the public. We continue to have other Collier counties see DuPage as the place to go for when they can't service animals in their own communities. I want to share one quick example of a gentleman that lives in Kane County and he needs to surrender his dog. And Kane County Animal Control said, call DuPage.
Oh, great.
And as I'm talking to him, I happen to grab the phone at that time, you know, he said, you were the first person that is actually asking me questions about my dog. Sound like you care about the outcome of my animal. And I understand my animal might not be able to be rehomed, right? This is why I'm talking to you, but you are at least showing me that you care and you're the first person to have done that. And all of our staff does that. So I'm really excited. And Dr. Hannick's got some new initiatives that start actually this week for pitties, if you want to share.
Well, with Kane County too, they still doing like when you call in to get an appointment and they put, if you want to surrender your dog and they put it out like 2 months, they can't get anybody in for 2 months.
Or they just tell you to go.
Or they just say go to the page
Yeah.
and you know, you got what's your options? You either say no and then they just let it go as a stray. Figure somebody will pick it up maybe.
Is there one way or another?
So,
No, they don't tell you to.
They don't tell you to let it go. That's what they'll do. If nobody takes it, they just they won't take it in. So that's why we accept them because we have the capacity and resources. But you know, the alternative was they'll just let it loose. And even the 77 rabbits or whatever we got, they came from Schaumburg when they went into a extended stay. And the police found all the rabbits. They couldn't handle them in Schaumburg, and Cook County really doesn't have anything on the north side to take them. So they called us and asked us if we could help. That's where a number of those rabbits, plus we worked with a lot of rescues that took some of the rabbits. But
Cook is really like a sheltered desert, I feel like, in that like in the northwest suburbs. There's not a lot of options, so they come to us.
So we do get a lot of animals that come from other parts of the area too. So, sorry, are you returned over to what the pity program maybe?
Yes, so using the vehicle, we've been helping feral fixers. We've done approximately 173 surgeries so far, and the season just started. So this week there's a conference and feral fixers is going to take a break. So we use that opportunity to do some community outreach, and we'll be doing 7 free spay neuters for pitties that are in DuPage County. And so we're pretty excited about that. So we'll provide vaccines, microchips, spay neuter, and dewormings and things like that. So yeah, that's getting off the ground. So this Thursday is going to be kind of a trial run, getting the 7 in that we're serving the public, and give you a little update as far as been working with Milton Township, and we have for years as far as helping them with training. But I just did a Zoom call for, I believe it was CERT members for Illinois, and that was a couple of weeks ago. And then this, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, we'll be at the auditorium, again, providing training for the FEMA Animals in Disaster for their Milton Township group. So working closely with them, and they're very appreciative of all that we do for them. And yeah, and I just wanted, again, just to touch on the 1711. Brian, you're thanking everybody, but you basically vocalized how that was a top priority for, you know, animal services, and like you said, the growing puppy packet, that educating the elected officials before we even went to these meetings. You know, they saw all the different articles, you know, Tribune articles and USDA audits, and so they were well educated before we even walked in the door. So we just kind of reemphasized what was provided in the puppy packet. So thank you for your leadership on that. That was huge. It was really exciting and a dream come true to have that pass so far. I mean, to the governor now.
Okay, do we need to call the governor and let him know that he like the signature?
Can't hurt.
Yeah, I sent an email off. So.
Yeah, they are recommending that. So thank you.
Thank you. And just
is there a timeline for him to sign? There is, isn't
60
there?
days, I think.
Yeah, 60. They release it 60 days, and then he's got.
And if he doesn't sign it, it becomes law.
Correct.
He's got either veto. He's either going to veto it or.
And the finance passed too, right?
Yep, that one did too also.
We'll
And just, you know, because I think feral fixers are taking a break this Thursday. That's why we're doing the video program.
Yeah, there's a conference that.
But one of our former employees who was the vet tech that did work with Dr. Hannick, she, I think, went on maternity leave and also moved to Indiana. So she doesn't work for us anymore, but she came back and she does the Thursday surgeries with Dr. Van Waldo. So she runs just on Thursday, she goes in and does the van with all the feral fixers, does the vet teching. And that's the one that, you know, we thought would be, call it seasonal employee. She's high level vet tech that works the van, but HR told us we had to classify her as an intern. So, because the intern has more skill level, I'm not sure what that means, but she was making $20-some an hour before she left here, you know, full time. And so that's where we saw, I think maybe Dawn raised a question, but when we have an intern that's making $20, I'm not sure that's really an intern. It's the vet tech that works our van on Thursdays. We thought it was a seasonal, it's only for the summer, but HR wanted to classify it as an intern. So I'm not sure that necessarily really is an intern as you're, you know, looking at interns. People are raising questions recently about whether it's $11 an hour, $12 an hour. I'm not sure that person's an intern. They just work on Thursdays for our, I guess under that scenario, our Dr. Van Waldo would be an intern too. She works one day. It's seasonal, so. Yeah, so our doctor out there is an intern too. So you may want to look at that, Nick, but we had a classifier as an intern, so I'm not sure of that. So when we're looking at intern salaries, I'm not sure that person's really an intern. They're a high level tech, but only works Thursday. She's done it the last 2 summers, right? For
3, yeah.
Three, but she just one day she comes out here and does with Dr. Van Waldo, does the thing.
She loves it.
Yeah.
It's a very specialized skill set.
She really liked the work she did here too. But you know, when she moved with her husband to Indiana, and it's not too far over the border, but you couldn't make the commute. I think at first you allowed her to, she was doing what, like 4 to 10 hours or something?
Yeah, because of the travel.
Then after she had the baby, and you know, but she does the one day and she does a great job, and Dr. Van Waldo does too. So
That's a great service they do, so.
Yeah.
And I think you're trying to expand now and maybe going, looking to go into maybe some of the low income areas, complexes, apartment complexes, and maybe offering some type of service with that van.
Right, so if you know of, you know, if your area has needs, you know, let us know, and we'll try to build a program to where we can help them. Maybe medical or surgical needs.
And we already have the population fund that does spay and neuters for low income that they have to qualify through our program. So we probably already know those. So we probably can look at some type of program for outreach. And I know you're trying to analyze dog bites too and where they're coming from.
Right, we thought that would be an effective, I mean, we know the dog bites for the county, so to focus on that and try to maybe decrease the reproduction of those animals would be effective. Targeted spay.
Planning your obsolescence, sort of.
All right, anything else, Barb, on the administrative update? Okay, anybody got any old business? Any old business?
I just have a quick question on the building. Where are we at with the building that so they can expand?
We're meeting Friday.
Friday?
Okay.
Friday with facilities.
Okay.
I'm just give a quick update because there's just so everybody knows what we're doing. I mean, obviously work with their staff, and we have a design for phase 2. We've been working with that. But just yesterday, I talked to Tim, and he's going to go back to the consultant to have them do an analysis of which or how much of that expansion might be eligible for ARPA money.
Yeah.
It's not going to all be eligible because it's got to be a component of, you know, the social distancing and all that, but a portion of it might be.
Right.
And our thought is once we do, we might, you know, with staff over at Animal Services and Facilities come before the Finance Committee, probably second meeting in August, and maybe make a proposal at that time with the portion of the ARPA. So that is still very fluid, and we've got to figure out what portion would be eligible for ARPA.
I'm just thinking with the kennels, you were just saying that we could make that where it's socially distanced because to keep the.
Yeah, and so I guess to pick up on that point a little bit more about it, Laura's working on getting some information to me regarding potential naming rights for wings, for cages, dollar amounts, and then working through the foundation. I have a few people and myself we put together the capital campaign where we market to individuals. You know, do you want to for whatever 150,000 have your name on it? And so, in conjunction with DuPage Friends, we'll be raising some private sector money for the kennel. For the facility. And then we do have, I think it's 4 million, approximately 4 million, because we're a separate enterprise fund. So in our reserves, we have 4 million already in money, some thanks to the funds. I think over the last couple of years, we've got about $1 million maybe.
We've got some nice bequest gifts that we haven't been able to touch because they weren't earmarked for capital improvements.
And so what was like, one was like $500,000, right?
Yeah, we transferred.
But
like
it was where
540.
somebody left it and it went to friends, but it was specifically for us and it had to be for the building. Is that correct?
Yeah, capital improvements.
Yeah, capital improvement. So we have some funding. And so the question is, if we get to a certain point, we get ARPA money, we have the money there, we can maybe move forward with it. And then, you know, we have, I don't know how much money in reserves, but similar to what we did with the building across over there, where we go through construction, we have some cash flow coming in and we could just pay it back over a few years. So that's kind of.
I mean, everybody's calling DuPage. You obviously are a leader, so let's get you a building that you can work better in.
So, and I think we would probably be doing this now because we were getting ready to do it right before the pandemic hit.
Okay.
McNeely on WeatherTech is #1 on my list. So.
He does sell those nice dog bowls. So.
He put his own dog on the Super Bowl commercial. And
that's right.
$30 million for that instead of advertising his company. So he's a big dog, guys.
University of Wisconsin too, I think.
Oh, they got so much money. And then the Petco guy came in and the CEO and put $250,000 behind it. And so I don't know how much money Wisconsin Veterinarian School got because of that commercial, but they did very well.
WeatherTech's in Illinois. So.
Right on Bolingbrook. Any other old business? Any new business? Oh, looks like we got a couple of new business things here. We're going to discuss these ordinances. Sure.
Yes, so the first one, we're making some updates to our biting animal exam form procedures for veterinarians. After review, we actually found some typos and the form names have changed, and we wanted to just make sure that the guidance for veterinarians was more clear. So that is what this ordinance amendment addresses.
Are we just discussing these today, or are we going to vote on today?
Christy, does this require a vote?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get a motion for ordinance.
Second.
517. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Passes. And then the last one is we get a motion for an ordinance amending section 5.32.
Yes, so this is our fees section. You'll notice, and I put it in the second version that went to you guys, we added a definition of financial hardship. We increasingly see people in financial distress and just in crisis in general, and they have pets. And so they show up to our shelter doors and they don't have maybe the $25 to surrender their pet. And so if we don't take that animal in, it's at risk of being abandoned outside, and we end up getting it anyway. And so and it's so much more valuable to have a pet profile filled out and just all that history on the animal. And we want to be a resource in the community. So that is where we see people sometimes experiencing financial hardship, and we don't want to turn them away. And also sometimes on reclaims, we have situations where people, especially during the pandemic, their animal gets out, they've been out of a job, and they can't afford the reclaim fees to get their animal, and they call it doggy jail, and you know, why are you holding my animal hostage? I just want my pet back. So we've added a definition of financial hardship, and then at the very end of the fee or part of the ordinance, we talk about that being one of the exceptions for waiving or reducing a fee, and we do have the ability to track that with our current shelter software.
Okay, we get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This thing, how we running still okay on our rabies tags? We're way ahead of schedule, aren't we?
They're very ahead of schedule.
And do you think it's because of having them buy the tags up front?
I think it's a combination of things. We are definitely more efficient with this new tag distribution system, where veterinarians are paying for the tags as they are procuring them from us. The only thing they're remitting later are any intact fees. The other part is I think a lot of people got animals last year. And
Yeah,
so
we've seen a big, I didn't see the last month, but we've been running ahead of our proposed revenues for the year so far with our rabies tags. So.
Yeah, that definitely has been a positive change of the way we're distributing the rabies tags. So thank you for the committee support on that.
All right, any motion to adjourn? So, all right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So I got Willie vaccinated at PetSmart,
Okay,
but they didn't give me a tag. So do I need to get that from you guys?
yes. Did they give you a generic tag? Was it Vet IQ? No?
I got to look through
Because
my
actually
email.
I'm trying to get the state's attorney's office a copy
Control
of the Vet
officer out
IQ
for
generic
it.
tag because we're having a problem where there's a handful of these traveling veterinarians that are, they're giving out what's called a generic rabies tag. It's got a number and everything. And then
So
they're.
people think they've got a
Some
tag.
people
So you
think
getting
they
ready
want
to
the
start
tag.
these?
No, they didn't give me
Lightning.
anything.
Ready now, you gotta
Okay.
start raising
You just
them.
have to,